Hello guys, welcome to the second video in Local SEO. I hope you guys have followed all the instructions from the first video and set up your Google My Business listing. This is extremely important, like I've mentioned in the previous video also, to perform any kind of local SEO. So before we proceed any further in terms of how to perform local SEO, let's quickly run through all the activities that you should have performed by now, both on your website and Google My Business listing. So before we proceed, please ensure that you have completed Google My Business listing with all the accurate information and added your name, address, phone number on your website. I will also tell you how to add this particular information with the schema markup or in this particular video. Also ensure that you have added your keyword plus city name in the title tag, the same keyword and city name in your description tag. A lot of you might be right now thinking that why am I suggesting you to add your keyword plus city name in the meta description when it is not being accounted for in terms of rankings from Google. This is purely done to like ensure hygiene across the website and also consistency across the website. Also ensure that you add the same keyword plus city name in the H1 and H2 tags. Try to include the keyword and the city name in the URL also, but don't try to force it, because if your keyword is a little too long and then you add a city name to it, the URL might become a little too big, and it is not recommended to have a really big URL, obviously for SEO purposes. So this is also a no-brainer. You need to add your keyword plus city name plus LSI keywords in the content. I hope you know what LSI keywords are. LSI basically stands for latent semantic indexing. Basically keywords which are thematically close to your existing keywords. If you want, I can make like a quick video on this also in terms of how to get the best primary keywords for you, and along with that the secondary keywords and the LSI keywords for the same thing. So ensure that your keywords are there, but at the same time please make sure that you do not stuff your content with just the primary keyword. Sprinkle it with LSI keywords and secondary keywords, and just try to make it as natural as possible, because if your customer is coming on your page and if you see something which is very forced in there, it might not look very professional and it might leave a very bad impression on your website. Again, the same thing for your image alt tags. And also one more thing that you can do is embed a map of your business location in your contact page or any other page for that matter. This basically is done in order to like just help your users find your business much more easily. There is no impact as such on local SEO by doing this. This is just being recommended to be done purely on the basis of user experience. So before we proceed further and dig deep into what all the things that you need to be doing and performing in order to like optimize your website for local SEO, let's just figure out what are the factors that impact your rankings in the 3-pack map listings. So Moz did a survey, very in-depth survey and analysis of all the factors that impact your rankings, and they've been doing this for a few years now, and they've been tracking how all of these factors are changing in terms of impact. This pie chart that you see here is from 2017, and as you can see, the biggest impact for your rankings is Google My Business listing in itself. So which is why I made a separate video for it, and like why you need to like have the right and accurate information which is like set out properly out there. Otherwise, without which, like, nothing you do after that is going to help you in ranking at all. As you can see, just to validate my thoughts, it has like the highest impact in terms of the rankings with at 19%. Then comes the citations. Citations are basically mentions of your business or your website, usually done along with your name, address, and phone number. I'm going to mention this name, address, phone number a lot. I'll be probably referring to it as NAP throughout, which is what people do it. This is very important because this information is standard for your business and it is not going to change, hopefully not, regardless of the platform you're on. So the more citations you have, it is considered as a signal from Google in terms of for local SEO. Also, the on page that we discussed in terms of title tag, description tags, keyword wrapped in header tags, your alt tags sprinkle across your content, and all of that. So this is also quite important. And not surprisingly, links play a very, very important role in local SEO too. So this kind of like helps you both in your organic listing as well as your 3-pack map. So in terms of link building, I'll make a separate video because obviously link building is a very extensive video in itself. It's an extensive procedure in itself. There are like tons of ways you can build links. There are tons of ways you can acquire them. So I don't want to cram it in this particular video. Also, I think this is something that can be used both for local SEO as well as regular SEO, which is why I'll make like a proper separate independent video for links in itself. Then obviously the number of reviews your business is getting and how fast they're getting and what is like the diversity of the reviews, all of this also matters. Social signals, I'm kind of on the fence in terms of social signals because Google is trying to be as less dependent on this as possible these days. But still, the research says that social signals has still got a significant impact on the local SEO rankings, but just about 3.5%. But there's no harm in like keeping your social networks and their respective audiences engaged. So the other two are your behavioral and personalization. I'll tell you what exactly this is. Behavioral is how many times are people opening your result in the Google 3-pack map or in Google Maps itself, and how many of them are actually interacting. So this can be in terms of your click-through rate, which is CTR, how many people have clicked on the call button, how many people have clicked on the get directions buttons. All of this depends on, it also impacts the local SEO ranking factors. There is not much you can do in terms of trying to manipulate the impact this particular thing has, except setting your Google My Business listing as accurately as possible. The second one, there is absolutely nothing that you can do in terms of, because it's all about personalization for the user and for Google. So you might have observed this yourself. I have observed this in fact very recently, that depending on the location you are in, depending on the recent searches you have, the result changes, especially when you're logged into Google. So depending on all of these factors, the 3-pack map, the way it is shown, is sometimes may completely depend on the user's behavior. So if he's, say for example, in a particular area, in a particular city, instead of showing the most relevant result, Google might throw up the most relevant as well as the closest business from that particular user. So again, there is not much you can do about this particular thing, but there are all these other factors which make up to like almost 80% of the impact. So everything, rest of the things is very much in your control. So in this video, we'll be mostly talking about how to get citations, how to get your on-page sorted, which has already been discussed, and also very importantly, how to get the schema markup done before you go ahead and get your citations done across different aggregator website, different directories and all of that. You need to ensure that your NAP and your schema markup for your NAP is like properly set up on your website, and you maintain that format consistently across every directory possible out there. So which is why we'll talk about how to set this up in terms of schema. So when you set this up in properly in schema markup, there are a lot of advantages. So one of them is obviously you'll get a better click-through rate, and also Google will be able to read your name, address, phone number in a much better way than reading the text itself. And there is multiple ways to do it. I'll show you how you can do all of these things. Moving on. Now let's see how to set up schema markup for NAP. I know that a lot of people have been asking how to set up schema markup for your website. In this video, I'm showing you how to set up schema markup just for NAP, but the same method can be used to set up schema markup for pretty much anything. It can be like your products, it can be reviews, it can be recipes, it can be pretty much anything. So the technique or the method is pretty much the same, but there are multiple ways to do this. So I'll show you exactly what are the different ways, starting from the most technical and ending it with the most easiest way to do this. So typically there are 4 different ways in which you can set up schema markup. One is you can do it through a plugin for WordPress. I have done a lot of research in the past, and I've done a lot of research even now. Unfortunately, there is no free plugin which supports local businesses, so the only options that you have are paid plugins. I would say they're completely worth it, but because it saves you a lot of time in terms of setting up and all of that. But if you don't want to spend money on these things, there are obviously other ways, like you can add it yourself manually into your footer file. You can also add it using a text widget. You can also do it using the Google Data Highlighter. I'll show you exactly how to do all of these things so that you can set up your schema markup for NAP, or you can use the same method like I mentioned before to set up your schema markup for any information out there. So let's see how you can set up the schema markup using a plugin. Like I mentioned before, most of the free plugins out there do not support local businesses or NAP schema markup. So the only option you have are paid plugins. After a lot of research and a lot of trial and error, I have zeroed in on one particular plugin which will literally do the job for you in terms of this. So I'm just going to run you through a few screenshots of that particular plugin and how you can use it. It's pretty straightforward if you want to go ahead and use it. If not, you can always, there are multiple other ways of setting this up. So this is the plugin I have been talking about. It's called Rich Snippets WordPress plugin, and you can find it on codecanyon.net. This is not available on the WordPress plugin database. You have to purchase it separately and upload it to your WordPress blog through a zip file. So this basically does the job. It also supports a lot of other schema markup apart from NAP. I will quickly run you through the screenshots of how to use this, and you will understand, you'll get a pretty clear understanding of how this particular plugin works. So basically the way this plugin works is in the form of shortcodes, wherein you basically copy these shortcuts that you find here and post it in your post or pages, and it will automatically populate everything else that is there. As you can see, it supports a lot of schema markups in terms of product review, restaurants, recipes, product, and the most important thing is the address which we require. And as you can see here, this is the shortcode for it. So you can also add attributes to your particular markup by editing these shortcuts, but this is not necessary since it is already been done for you. And this is how the HTML is going to look like. And This is basically how you add, copy and paste the shortcode into your post. So you can either add this in your post, or if you have a contact page, you can add it to your contact page, or you can just put it on your footer the same way it is mentioned here, and then it'll like basically take over your entire website. And this is how it's going to look in your search results. So this is basically an events schema markup. This is how your SERPs are going to look like. This is a ratings markup. So this is about $20. Yeah, it's about $20. So if you're willing to pay $20, you can go ahead and do it. But I personally feel that $20 is a little too much for what this does. And frankly speaking, with my other methods, you can easily do it yourself. It might take you a little longer to do it, but it is absolutely doable by anyone for that matter. You don't need to have any kind of technical knowledge. In fact, I'm going to give you the HTML for the NAP schema markup. You can just copy paste it and just edit out all the values and replace it with the values that is your name, address and phone number. Next up, let's see how we can set up the schema markup by adding it to your footer. The advantage of adding a schema markup to your footer is that it is going to be site-wide and you wouldn't have to add it to every single page. Rather, just put it to your footer and it'll appear on every single page automatically. So let's see how you can add this to your footer. As you can see here, I've logged into the dashboard of learndigitalmarketing.com. We have set up a dummy blog over here just to show how things are done for you. And basically, you can do this in two ways. One, if you're okay with being a little technical, basically you go into the editor, and as you can see, there are a lot of PHP files which you will find here. This particular theme in question does not have a separate footer PHP file, but a lot of themes do have a separate footer PHP file. So you can just open that particular PHP file and it'll show up something like this, and basically add the HTML that I'm going to show you. Or what, since I am not a technical person and I'm assuming that a lot of you people are also not coming from a technical background, it is best not to play around with these technical aspects because it might like screw up other things, and which we do not want to be in a situation like that. I think the safest way to do is through a plugin wherein it'll inject your HTML code into your footer. So there is a plugin called header, footer and post injections. So just you can find it in, you can just go to add new and just look for that particular plugin. I'll just show you. This is the plugin that we are talking about. It is being used by more than 1 lakh people out there, so, and it's got like 5-star rating all throughout. So it's a pretty safe plugin to use, and I have personally used it and it's a great plugin. So you too can use this particular plugin to inject that particular HTML code into your footer, and which will make your schema markup to appear in all the pages. So let's see how to do it. So once you've installed this particular plugin, you need to go to settings and you will find it separate settings in header and footer. So you just need to scroll down a little bit, and then when you scroll down here, you can see this is basically the HTML for the schema markup, and this is how it's going to look like. I am going to put this into a text file which you can download. All you have to do is replace these values which are in black with whatever information that you need to put in. So once you put it in like this, so you, where the name is, you just put in the your business name. The street address is your street address. Locality is technically your city. Region is your state. Postal code is postal code, of course, and the telephone is basically your telephone number. If you want, you can put your latitude and longitude also, but it is not required as of now. This is the most important 3 main things that needs to be there. which is obviously the name, address and phone number. So which is why I'm just covering that aspect. You can always add more lines to this and create a more extensive schema markup, but for now this is all that is required. So ensure that you paste this code both in the desktop and the mobile version, and once you post this, you can see it something like this. So this is how it's going to look like, and the end user is not going to see all of this code. The end user is going to only see the information that is mentioned here. So there is nothing to worry about there. And so you can just download the file, install this particular plugin, paste this particular HTML code, and it is going to appear across your website. It is as simple as that. So if you are a technical person, I would strongly recommend you go and edit your footer.php file and just play around with it. If you're not, which I'm assuming you're not, this is one of the easiest and simplest and safest way to do without messing around with the code of the theme. So now you know two different ways of doing it. There is also another way you can do it depending on the theme that you're using. So certain themes, when you go into your appearances and widgets, have a separate column wherein you can modify the way your footer is going to look, and I'll show you how you can do that and by using a text widget. Let's see how to add schema markup by adding a text widget. So the HTML code is going to remain the same, so you have to copy this, go to appearance, on widgets. As you can see, there's sidebar and all of these things here. So basically, if your theme provides you an opportunity to edit your footer, you're gonna see another box here called as footer, or footer 1, footer 2, footer 3. It depends completely on your themes, but this is how it's gonna look like. In fact, you can put it on your sidebar widget also here, but that is not recommended because it kind of like distracts the user, and it's not the kind of information that you would want to put right in front of your user. So imagine this is the footer widget that you're seeing here. So if you scroll down here, you will find something called as text. So you just click on that, and it is sidebar widgets is already been chosen for this particular theme. But here, if you have a separate footer widget, you just choose the footer widget and click on add widget. So as you can see, it has been added to my sidebar widget. So I open this up. In the content, I copy paste the HTML code and hit save. As simple as that. So it is saved. So then the reason why I'm giving this option is also because certain themes have an inbuilt editable footer which goes very well with the theme itself. So it doesn't even seem like it is forcefully added there. It's got all the CSS, it's got all the styling done properly. So it looks a lot more nicer and a lot more neater if you do it in this particular way, which is why I'm giving you this option. So once you're done with this, once you hit save, it is going to start appearing across your entire website. So now you know 3 different ways of adding the schema markup to your blog or to your HTML website. For if it's your HTML website, it's just going to be the same thing. You just put it in your footer and that's about it. If you find it even more difficult to do that, there is a much more easier alternative. Perhaps this is the most easiest alternative of them all, which you can also give it a shot. But I highly recommend it to try out all the other methods that I've shown also. It might be helpful for you in just like exploring the back end of your blog a lot more fluently than you have in the past. So the next method that we're going to talk about is setting up the schema markup by using Google Data Highlighter. Let's see how we can do this. Okay, to use the Google Data Highlighter, you need to log into your Google Search Console, and this is how it's going to look like, the dashboard. Now, once you're in the dashboard, just click on Search Appearance, and there's something called as Data Highlighter. Just click on that, And basically what this does is it helps Google understand all the markup and the data that is encompassed in the markup for Google alone. It helps Google understand all this information in a much more nicer way. The disadvantage of this particular method is that only Google will understand this and no other platform is going to understand this, which is why it is sometimes recommended that you use the HTML that I showed you earlier and actually put it on the website. If you're okay with, if your primary platform is just Google, then this is absolutely fine. You can just use the Google data highlighter and you're good to go. So to start with the data highlighter, you need to click on start highlighting, and it'll ask you for a URL. I'm going to use one of the blogs that I've put in here, and it is going to ask you what is the type of information to highlight. So when you click on it, as you can see, there are different kinds of markup that is available here that needs to be done. So in our case, we're going to use local businesses. Now there are two options here: tag this page and others like it, and tag just this page. So if your NAP is just available on one particular page, this can be in the case of just the contact page. So then you need to use this particular option. But if you use it, say in the footer, and it appears in pretty much every possible page, then you need to put it like this. Great. So now we are in the highlighter, and as you can see, there is something called as my data items. And what you need to do here is basically I've put it in the footer, so we're going to highlight all the important information. So the first thing I'm going to tag is my business name, which is this. So I'm going to just left click and highlight this, and this is going to show up. I'm going to tag it as name. As you can see to your right, it has been populated under name. In case you've made a mistake, you can always click on the cross sign and it'll just clear the tag and you can highlight it again. Next, let's go for address. I'm gonna select the entire thing and tag it as address. Now let's go for address. For this, I'm gonna select everything that's mentioned here, including the pin code, as address. Great. So please ensure that the way you are helping Google identify your address, it is mentioned and put across the same way in every possible platform out there. This is extremely important because your NAP needs to be consistent across every other platform. When I say every other platform, for example, you choose to put your business information on Just Dial, ensure that the address is in the same format if possible. If not, at least the same information is there. So let's finish this up with tagging the phone number as well. So it's pretty much name, address, and telephone is done. If you want, you can add your other information also in terms of opening hours and category and all of that. But for this particular video, I'm not going to do all of that. You can always go around and experiment it. There is also image, there's URL, there are tons of other things. You just need to if you want to do an image, for example, just click on this, add it as an image, and that's it. The same thing applies for URL. So okay, there's a URL here, so I'm going to tag it as my URL. See, it's been already tagged. So our name, address, and phone number has been tagged successfully. Then we click on done. So once you click on done, this is what Google is going to show you. In fact, the Search Console is going to show you where all the pages which are very similar to it. So Google has found out that there are 8+ pages which are similar to that, and the same information is there on all of these pages, which is great. So I want to go ahead and say create page set. This is very important because every time this particular page, or any page for that matter, is listed in the SERPs, the same markup is going to be shown to the users. So now Google is going to like show me other pages which are very similar and ask me to like tag the same things if required. But unless your information changes from page to page, in the case of multiple locations, this is not required. I'm just going to click next. You can also choose to remove a particular page from not showing this particular markup also. I don't think it is necessary in this case, but for you it might be a page where your markup is not necessary, say for example like a privacy policy page or terms and conditions page, something like that which you don't want the markup to be included in, then you can just click on remove page and you're good to go. So once you're done reviewing all the pages, it's going to show up something like this, and basically everywhere the name, address and phone number and the URL is consistent. So I'm happy with that. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on publish, and the moment you hit publish, Google is going to pick it up in the search engine results, and once it reindexes your website, it is going to index with the markup. Like I said before, all of these methods can be used for any kind of markup that is necessary for you. It can be NAP, it can be product, it can be restaurants, it can be recipes, it can be events, it can be anything for that matter. All these 4 methods will be the same for you to set up schema markup. So I'm not going to hit on publish because it's all about dummy data and I don't want to like mess around with Google. So you can go ahead and hit publish, and once it's published, you are good to go. Great. Congratulations on coming this far. I hope you have understood and grasped all the information that I've just told you. All these things that I mentioned here is extremely important before we proceed further to get your local citations. It is important because you are setting a standard in terms of your NAP information, and you are going to use the same NAP information in pretty much every platform, every aggregator site, every directory out there, and you have to use it in the same format to maintain the consistency. So when you provide this information to third-party website, that is what a citation means. So there is a mention about your business, there is a mention about your address, your phone number. So this is basically what a citation means. So how do you get these citations? And as you can remember from the earlier slides, local citations have a significant impact on your local SEO rankings. So the more you have them, the better it is for you in terms of ranking for your local SEO. So let's see how we can get these local citations. The most easiest way to get citations is from your generic directories. For example, it can be like Just Dial. Just Dial can be used by pretty much every organization out there. You can also use online yellow pages also. I am going to also give you a list of directories and websites where you can get these local citations, which is pretty generic in nature. So the best way to go forward about this would be to first get citations from all of these websites before proceeding further. So the next best place to get citation opportunities is Google search. It is a pretty obvious one, but a lot of people miss this particular opportunity. What this will help you in doing is it'll help you in getting a list of directories or websites which are very specific to your industry that you are in, or very specific to the domain that you are in. So this way, not only will you have your citations from generic directories, but you will also have citations from very specific websites. So let's see how you can find this particular citation opportunities. So I googled guitar classes Bangalore, and this is basically the result, and this is the 3-pack here, and you can see that this is what I was talking in terms of the proximity. So there is something called as literally guitar classes, and it just got like 3 ratings, but I think it's pretty close by to my location right now, which is why it is showing in first position, although this might not be the best result out there. As you can see, my School of Rock has 108 interviews with a 4.8 rating, but still, unfortunately, because of my proximity or lack of it, he is in the second position in this particular thing. Now you can see here there are tons of websites which are also mentioned in the organic results. So let's see all the places where we can get these particular things. I think you can try an Urban Pro, Urban Clap. Like I mentioned before, Just Dial is already here, and you can probably post it in Quora also with the same NAP information. You need not have to drop in a link. You also can drop in a link, and this might also be considered as a citation. There is of course Sulekha. So this is exactly what I was talking about. So this is something that might not appear in your generic directory list, but there is this website called Extra Prepare, so which basically lists out all the activities in a particular city. So why not? Like, so this is exactly what I was talking about. So they have a link here which says that list your institute for free. So I just basically click on it and add my particular information here. So basically I add my institution's name, I add my mobile number, I add my address in the same format which I've given in Google. I know I've been repeating this quite often, but trust me guys, this is extremely important because NAP consistency is one of the ranking factors. So this might not show up in your generic directories list, but I found a website where my competitors might have ignored it. So let's go to the second page also and see if we can get something here. So there's something called as Music Malt. There's something called as Zen Parent. This seems to be a guitar class in itself. There's something called as click.in, mycityforkids.com. Then there's LBB, myprivatetutor.com. So as you can see, there are tons of these kind of websites where you can go there and like list your particular business over there. And whatever business you are in, when you do a Google search for the exact keyword that you're trying to rank for, I'm sure you'll find a ton of websites like this. And I would suggest you go out there and try to list your particular business in all of these websites as much as possible. Like literally in 2 minutes I found like 6 of them. So if you do a little bit of more research, tweak around and play around with the keywords, I'm sure that you're going to like find a lot more websites like this wherein you can add your business into this particular directories. So don't ignore these. Try to get into as many websites like this as possible. So in fact, if you get into a website like LBB, which is like pretty famous, you can see here they have literally written out the address, the phone number, which is pretty awesome if you ask me. This can be considered as a citation in itself. So you wouldn't want to miss out getting featured in a website like this. Also, not only will it give you a citation, it can give you a lot of exposure and a lot of traffic also. So great, now you have listed yourself on the generic directories, again for which you have a list which can be downloaded. Now you found out how you can get the citation opportunities using a simple Google search. Let's find out how you can do a competitor profile analysis wherein you can see where your competitor has got citations from and try to mimic their profile. Let's see how to do that. Okay, keeping the same example of guitar classes in Bangalore, in order to find out what are the citation opportunities that I might find in terms from my competitor, what I did was I took the best person or best business out there who has optimized their website for local SEO, which in this case was my School of Rock, and I went and did a Google search with the business name and the area where they're located in. You can notice that I have put both the business name as well as the area which they're located in double quotes. I hope you know that when you put your search query in double quotes, it becomes like an exact match, and Google is going to show you information where the business name is exactly in this order and the area name is exactly in this order. So there are about 211 results apparently. So let's see if we can dig out more citation opportunities. So the first one is Facebook. So you have to like set your Facebook page also and put in your address, which you can see here. And these guys seem to have maintained pretty much consistently in terms of the address. So you can see here, if we match it with this, although it is not exactly a replica, it is the closest you can get, but I would suggest you don't do that. Then there is askleila.com, and again askleila, just dial is showing up again. See, here's something that we found called shapingkids.com, wherein the citation has been picked up. So again, there is Indranagar 7.rssing. There is allevents.in. See, these are the kind of hacks or workarounds that you might find. So for example, this is a business organization, but he got himself a citation from allevents.in, so which is great. So if your business organization can create an event, it can also be a webinar. I would strongly suggest you go ahead and put this information on events website, and you might not only get a backlink, you will also get a citation for your local SEO. And also it has been picked up by YouTube also. Let's go to the second page. Again, an events website, and there is also a schools directory wherein they have listed out all the schools. So as you can see, I have found out where all this particular business organization has got their citations from, and I would go about and try to replicate this profile by creating citations on exactly these platforms, which is great for me because I don't have to sit and dig through the entire internet to find citation opportunities. Now what you would want to do is replace this business name with your competitor's business name. Make a list of say 10 competitor business names and just keep on doing this again and again, and you'll have a list of a good bunch of websites and directories from which you can get citations from. So that in itself is a huge time saver. And basically what it does is very importantly is that you are matching up with your competitors. And not only are you matching up with the competitors, you are being better than all of these competitors because you have cumulatively gotten all of these citations what all your competitors have, plus you have cleverly gone to Google and looked for other citation opportunities by googling your keyword along with all their variations, plus you have citations from the generic directories also. So this way you have a bunch of citations and you are way ahead of the competition right now. So these are the things you can do to set up citations for yourself. So now you know how to get local citations from, I'm gonna say this again, I know you're gonna hate me for doing this, but please maintain consistency with NAP information. The more consistent it is, the more easier for Google it will be to rank your website in the 3-pack maps. Now you got yourself some very nice citations by digging into your competitors, by digging in Google, and by digging into the generic directories, which is great. But also reviews form a large part of your impact in terms of your ranking. So how do you go about getting reviews? I think the most obvious one would be to seed the first few reviews yourself by asking your friends and relatives to like go about and write a nice review about your business organization. If it is your clients, you can ask your employees and their employees to write a review about that particular business organization. But when you're doing this, please keep in mind to maintain the review velocity and review diversity. What does it mean? When I say review velocity, if you put in all the reviews on the same day or at the same time, Google will obviously know that these reviews are not genuine. If you, common sense would say that reviews would be naturally spread out across a period of time, and if a bunch of reviews are coming at a particular time and then there is no reviews for a large period of time and then there are like sporadic reviews, obviously it means that it's been rigged up. So you would want to tell, if you're seeding it, you would want to like spread it out across a few days to make it look natural and try to maintain that momentum in terms of getting reviews. We'll get to that later on. When I say review diversity, try not to give a review from the same IP. For example, it can be from the same, you might be very tempted to like create multiple accounts and try to give reviews from these multiple accounts, but you would have forgotten to change your IP. So Google is smart enough to understand these kind of small nuances and it'll easily pick it up and all your effort will go to waste. So ensure that there is like proper review diversity and review velocity. Some people might argue that this might be slightly in the gray area in terms of ethics, but my justification is just that this is just to set the ball rolling, and I would not recommend you to create, you shouldn't be having only fake reviews out there. You need to have a healthy mix of reviews which is continuously flowing in, and this is just to create a social proof for your website. The second best would be to like, you can ask if your business already has customers. You can just simply ask them to review your website or their business organization for them. If you remember, I definitely do, Deepak had sent out a mail and also he had posted in the group asking you guys to review his business listing on Google Maps, and I think he has amassed about 70 to 80 reviews in Google Maps already. So you too can do this particular thing. You too can go ahead and ask your existing customers. If you have been a very good service provider to them, they will be more than happy to review your organization on Google Maps. Another very good way to encourage people giving reviews is to incentivize them. If they have walked into your house, walked into your organization and purchase something, or maybe a product or an offering or service, or once they're done with the purchase, if they're happy with it, all you can say is, can you please go to Google and review our listing over there? If you do it, probably we'll give you a 250 rupees Amazon or Flipkart voucher in return for that. Incentivizing really helps, because I've seen this right in front of my eyes, wherein I used to consult with this local training institution, wherein we used to ask all the students who have come to this training to review our organization on Google. In return, they would get a 250 rupees Amazon gift card, and we managed to get about 300 to 400 reviews in a matter of a month or two. So you can definitely incentivize them, encourage them to like go ahead and like review your listing on Google. Also, keep in mind, try to, once you have reached a critical point in getting reviews on Google, try to diversify your reviews also. You can, if you're a restaurant, you can ask them to go review it on Zomato or Just Dial, or it can be any other third-party aggregator site. Why is this important? Because sometimes Google not only relies on its own review system, but it also relies on third-party review systems. So it picks up the ratings and the reviews from these third-party sites. So it is absolutely great for you to have reviews which are consistent across all of these platforms. Now, you might be thinking, what if a user or your customer is not happy, and if I ask him to write a review for me on Google, he might like poorly review me there or give me a bad rating. This is a very, very possible scenario to find yourself in. And my honest suggestion would be for you to like give them a great experience. Obvious, that's an obvious one. But there is a way to bypass this particular thing. What I have seen a few businesses doing, or a few apps doing for that matter also, is they throw in a page like this. So as you can see, there is three emojis here: happy, neutral, and sad. So whenever a person clicks on sad, what you can do is you can redirect them to a Google form or a type form wherein they can give their feedback to you, saying that why they didn't like your service or your offering. But if they click on the happy emoji or the happy smiley, you can directly redirect them to your Google listing or any other listing for that matter. That way, you are catching all the negative reviews, and obviously, goes without saying, you need to address these concerns and issues that your customers have raised and try to solve solve it for them. So once you do this, you will weed out all the negative reviews as much as possible. If you don't address these concerns, they might come back and write a review themselves, and try to encourage people to go and write a review for you on Google Maps. Last but not least, do not forget social signals. Like I mentioned before, although the impact social signals has on local SEO or SEO for that matter has been reduced significantly in the past few years, it does not hurt to have a very healthy engagement on your social platforms. Now, depending on the industry that you are in or the niche that you are in, you need to choose the right social platform for yourself. For example, if your business is primarily B2B, then you should be on LinkedIn more active rather than on, say, Facebook. If you're a women's fashion accessory business, then I would strongly suggest you be on Pinterest and on Instagram. If you are a startup co-working space, Twitter would be a good place to be on, or Quora could be a good place to be on. So choose the right social platform, because if you choose the right social platform, you will engage the right audience, and when you engage the right audience, they will engage back with you. They will like your page, they will share your posts, they will comment on your content, and these are the kind of social signals that Google will pick up. And having a healthy activity in the right kind of social platform will lead to a healthy engagement, which will definitely give you that slight nudge in terms of local SEO too. So don't try not to ignore this completely. Also, having a healthy engagement on social media has its own benefits, so don't forget about that. So try to keep all of these things in mind, and you are pretty much set to go ahead and do local SEO at this particular point of time. So we have covered how to set up your schema markup for your NAP, and how to get citations, how to get reviews, and how to create social signals for all of these things. So once all of these things are done, in your next video, I'm going to show you all the ways with which you can build links. With that information, you can not only use it for your regular SEO, you can use it for your local SEO also. So I hope this video was useful for you. Until the next video, I hope that you will actually execute all the things that has been taught in this particular video. So let's hope that we'll have a healthy discussion in the forums also. Let me know if you have any feedback regarding this video, or if there is anything else that needs a deeper explanation from my end. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next video.